Hedera is crushing it more than you think. We are going to look at some of those ways, including Hedera being chosen for this country's digital dollar. I keep saying dower for some reason. This video game built on Hedera is getting played a lot. Definitely something we're going to look at. Plus, who is leading the HBAR staking leaderboard? I didn't even know this leaderboard existed. It's pretty cool. New projects entering the ecosystem vying Thrive. And what is Thrive? Well, that's something we're interesting we're going to dive into today. Plus, HBAR is ranked this on the social metrics chart, one of the most talked about projects in the crypto ecosystem. All that on today's Frugal BC. By the way, guys, if you like this stuff, you like Hedera Hashgraph news, please hit that like and subscribe button. Now, remember, you don't have to smash it. Just press it gently. Works just fine that way, too. Since this is a non-Algorand video, we're going to give a brief shout out to our sponsors, Non-Fungible Domains, for that .algo address, and to the Marcus Aurelius meme coin and NFT project. Big thanks to both of those for sponsoring the channel. By the way, you could watch this video before anyone else by becoming a channel member, starting at only $1. Plus, we got special videos for higher tiers, so check that out in the description. But let's get to today's news. Enough about all that. First off is Hedera has been chosen for this country's digital dollar. Well, I actually said it right this time. Let's take a look at this news. It's coming right from the Hedera Foundation itself. The AUDD, the Australian digital dollar stablecoin on Hedera, selected by Hedera Council member AP Plus to be used in Project Acacia. So we talked about this before. That is the Reserve Bank of Australia will be using it in their Project Acacia. Pretty darn cool. Nothing too much to talk about there, but yeah, I think the more adoption you get for something like Hedera, the more usage it's going to get, the higher TPS. Start getting those transactions rolling in. Always a good thing for your underlying coin. So good for Hedera. But let's get on to the next news. We got bigger stuff to fry. And this one I really want to take a look at because this video game is built on Hedera and it's getting a ton of plays. And it looks kind of fun, I gotta say. So let's dive into this here. I gotta make fun of the name a little bit because legends of the past, like if you're a legend, that kind of implies you're talking about the past, generally speaking. But I got to, we'll dive into what this game looks like because it looks pretty cool. But 2.5 million total games played in the 1 week tournament that they had. So Hedera mainnet is about to get warmer. We are sending out USDC rewards to top players now. That's right, you can get USDC rewards depending on how well you play this game. It seems that people really enjoy the gameplay, which we'll look at that in a second because I actually think it looks pretty cool. Kept on playing again and again. So that's 2.5 million games played in 7 days, roughly translating to about 50 games per day per player. So yeah, they're not just trying it once and edging out. Now, what does it look like? Let's take a look. I think they got one pinned here. Yeah, so it looks like a little like overhead fighting game and kind of maybe Smash, a little bit like an overhead kind of Smash Brothers. I actually think this looks like fun and it looks pretty simple. I kind of like simple games. I gotta say it looks like a cool game. So you can get that. It's a mobile game. You can get that on Android and on iOS via Test Pilot. This is really common where you have to get, or I'm sorry, Test Flight it's called. And that's one of the ways you can try some of these games without full App Store approval, which is, it's really difficult. I know some people doing non-crypto stuff and still like just the iOS part is way more of a struggle than getting something on Android. So definitely going to give this game a try. It looks like fun. But next up, who is leading the HBAR staking leaderboard? I didn't even know this existed, but the result may or may not surprise you. This comes via Origin, which is it's built on Hedera. Stake HBAR for access. Get on the ground floor. Origin HBAR staking leaderboard update. We are more than halfway there with Hashpack, Hedera Kimchi, and Gib. Gib leading the way. So here is the staking leaderboard. Hashback at the very top, followed by Hedera Kimchi, then Gib, Karate Combat, and number 4 Hashman, Jesus Martinez, After Dark Social Club, Mookie, and then H. So these are all staking. I wish I'd tell a little bit more about what this is, because now that I look deeper at it, I'm not 100% sure. Let's see what the premier launchpad for curated early stage investment opportunities, venture backed and powered by Hedera. Join the list for Origin token airdrop campaign. Of course, there's a token. That is definitely something we're gonna have to dive deeper into. one of my biggest issues in crypto is organizations having a really tough time explaining exactly what it is you do. That should be step one if you're a crypto company, or any company for that matter. People should not come to your page and not really understand exactly what you're doing. But apparently has something to do with HBAR staking. Let's go on to our next item. So I came across this one about new projects entering the Hedera space via Thrive, but I didn't know what Thrive was, and I think this project is actually bigger news than the news that it's reporting. Let's dive into this. Hedera Foundation, meet the latest DeFi and AI projects to enter the Hedera ecosystem via Thrive protocol. Those include Vistia AI, DexPay, Toradle, and Centism AI. But more importantly, I thought this particular project was kind of interesting. A crypto GDP layer fueling growth across top ecosystems like Polygon, ApeCoin, and Hedera. $100 million in funding pools for top projects. So that's really interesting. And this pinned post from June 20th says, today we're announcing the Thrive.xyz beta, our new platform to fund the next generation of builders and deploy $10 million across the next 12 months to projects creating value. Starting today, builders will have access to universal applications, enter login Google authorization, and live funding activity updates. Migrate your account today. Learn more. So I think that's really interesting that you have this independent platform funding startups in these ecosystems in Polygon, ApeCoin, and Hedera. Interesting combination there too, by the way. Polygon seems to be just a dying platform. It's not being able to keep up its market cap. Hedera seems serious, and then you have something called ApeCoin. I mean, I don't know how serious we're going to take something called ApeCoin, but certainly interesting anyway. Interesting that Hedera is included in this. And last but not least, it's always interesting to see what coins are being talked about on social media, who's getting the most mentions, because frankly, I think that has a lot of impact on the price more than fundamentals do. I know people you might wish that fundamentals had more impact on price appreciation than, who's talking about what, but honestly, if you look at it, it just tends not to be the case. So, but that's actually good news for HBAR. And this is why. This is the latest from Lunar Crush. HBAR number 4 on the list of mentions. Top one being Link, followed by AVAX, Inject protocol. Is it injection or inject? I can't remember. I don't pay much attention to that one. Followed by HR. And then we got ICP, VeChain, Ondo, and Algorand kind of rounding up that top 8 there. So with Quant and Maker on the bottom there. So yeah, very interesting that HBAR is getting a lot of mentions, not as much as Link being the number 1 there. But let me tell you, these have been the ones that have been doing pretty well in price overall. So very interesting to follow these. Ondo on there too. I'm a big fan of Ondo. I'd say Link, HBAR, Ondo, and Algo are probably my favorites up here. And I'm invested in all of those and none of the other ones that are in the top 10 there. So it would be nice to pretend like this stuff doesn't matter, but it does. Popularity of a coin it just matters. And so what you want is more mentions, you want people talking about it. Retail still, I think, moves the needle a lot in crypto, especially at lower cap alts. It's not quite the same when you're talking about like Bitcoin and Ethereum, because so many institutions are bought in that retail doesn't have quite the impact it used to, I think, but you do see more retail impact at some of these lower market cap coins. And, I'm speaking relatively. Obviously, those are still pretty high market cap. These are all top 100 projects, but the institutions still haven't quite penetrated into those layers to a really strong degree. You're starting to see hints of that. And so this stuff still matters at this level. Anyway, that is all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Give a shout out what other coins you'd like to see, what other projects on Hedera you might like to see talked about. Otherwise, or what you think about this news. Otherwise, I'm Frugal BC. Stay safe out there, and I will see you in the future.